finish off the MCU reviews with Spider-Man Far From Home, which is the most recent Marvel movie uh, up to date, which is crazy because this movie came out back in July, like 2 years ago, and we usually get 3 Marvel movies a year, but the world's gone crazy since then. So, um, yeah, I think, yeah, I don't know. But if you want to see me talk about more Marvel content, well, stay tuned. I'll be talking about the finale of WandaVision, and then a couple weeks after that, I'll be talking about Falcon and the Winter Soldier's premiere, and every episode after that, I'll also be talking about Loki when that comes out in June, and every other Marvel film today. So if you like me talking about Marvel content, that's something I tend to do here. Like, share, and subscribe. Do all that, and let's talk about this movie and why I really don't like this movie. First of all, I'm already kind of bitter on this movie because I don't like Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I think none of them hit the level that the Sam Raimi movies did. And I didn't think Spider-Man Homecoming was horrible, but I didn't like the way they treated characters and did things. Um, but this movie's worse than that movie because I always said that it's too connected to Iron Man. Well, this is the movie that really demonstrates why that's such a bad thing. Because when this movie is all about Peter dealing with Tony dying, and he decides, I want to go on vacation. Which, first of all, after a world shattering event like Endgame, I don't think Peter should go on vacation and be this stupid. Like, okay, it's fine for him to go on vacation, but he should know he's a hero. That's what he has to do. It's his responsibility. Like, in the original Spider-Man movies, I get why in Spider-Man 2 Peter did that. And sure, it's kind of a dumb plot point in that movie, but it makes sense, and you relate to the character. This is giving him nothing but trouble, but he's dealing with day-to-day stuff. Well, this Peter is dealing with earth-shattering events, so it doesn't make sense that he would just give up on being a hero after a big event like that. And I get how he's feeling. But I get how that character is supposed to be feeling. But like, and it's something Peter would do, but Peter shouldn't be doing it after Endgame. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like, I'd buy he would do that after like Spider-Man Homecoming. If he had some similar events happen in Spider-Man Home. I don't know. I just didn't feel like that worked for me. That's not a major thing. I think that's more of just a personal preference to me, that one. But I think the major complaint with this being basically not a Spider-Man movie is Mysterio has a grudge against Tony Stark, and so he's and so he's here, and and it's about his grudge with Tony, and it's not even about, he's not even mad at Peter. Him and Peter are just fighting for no reason. And I love how they try to pretend, wow, it's such a big twist that Mysterio was the villain. First of all, if you know anything about the comics, you know he was going to be the villain. Number two, it wasn't that, it was already pretty obvious. Like, come on now. But the way they play around with that wasn't very good. Because Peter and him have a relationship throughout most of the movie, and then he just suddenly just switches to villain, because you knew he wanted something, but when he does, none of that relationship comes up again. He's just evil villain man, and it's ridiculous. And he's more he would be a great villain in an Iron Man movie, like, because he relates to Iron Man. All of his issues. He's mad at Iron Man. He is not mad at Spider-Man. There's no reason for him to do all this crap. So, I don't like the relationship. And this movie is also just really stupid for how it chooses. For, like, the comedy in this movie is just really bad. Like, I think Spider-Man Homecoming was a little bit better. And the reason why I say that is because this movie they make the whole apocalyptic event that just happened kind of a joke, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Most time it doesn't. It's just a boring kind of comedy, and I just, yeah, and I, the very, and Zendaya and Tom Holland's relationship in these movies are just very predictable. I kind of buy their chemistry, but it's also like, it's very predictable. Like, I'm not shocked by it, and I just think they spend too much time on it. And, you know, I mean, it's better than Mary Jane in the original Spider-Man movies. That's a big criticism I have with those, but still, I don't think it should have been focused on as much as it is here. Yeah, this movie is not that good, because it's just like, well, you're watching this movie, and yeah, it's got some cool action scenes, and I like that Mysterio's a creative character that allows for that, but if you're going to do Mysterio, you really should have done something more with him. Jake Gyllenhaal is a great choice to play this character, but he doesn't. But the way he plays him is great. But it's just the fact that he's an Iron Man villain in a Spider-Man movie. I'm tired of the Spider-Man being the Iron Man. The whole movie is about him trying to live up to Tony's legacy. That's not what Spider-Man is about. He's not living up to anybody's legacy. He's just a hero who has a day-to-day life problems, and occasionally he crosses over with the Avengers and other superheroes. It just is ridiculous to me that they make him like this second coming of Iron Man. Like, this is dumb. He is not Iron Man. Stop. And I don't like what they do with them. I don't like what they do with these characters. I hate the way this movie's shot. This movie is just so blandly shot, and I wouldn't even care that much, except for the fact that this movie is set at all these beautiful locations because they're traveling around, and they were actually filmed at these locations for the most part, but yet you don't really see any of them because it's just so blandly shot that you just don't get to see all these amazing locations. And so what it boils down to is, why didn't you just film it on a Hollywood studio lot if you can't show us the locations you're actually filming at? Because, I mean, they are part of the scene. Just overall, just not a very, just, I don't like this movie. This is my third least favorite Spider-Man movie. I think The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is my least favorite. Amazing Spider-Man 1 is my second least. This is my third least favorite. Spider-Man Homecoming is right under that. Then it's Spider-Man 3, Spider-Man, and Spider-Man 2. So, yeah, that's how my ranking goes. Spider-Man 2 is always number 1.